Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. I'm Izzy, and today we're working on something pretty fun. We're working on the bandsaw with a new bandsaw jig, and it's a kind of a new way of cutting curves and convex shapes that we can do some really interesting things with. And I really hope that you enjoy it. So what we're going to do is take a quick look at this bandsaw jig. Now this is a pretty interesting system that can do things like this convex shape and this concave shape right here with some boxes. Now this is cool, it's not super exciting, but this thing can do a lot of other things. And we've taken a pretty traditional style system that has a pendulum arm rather that sits kind of on the flat and just swings back and forth. We've made it a little bit more crazy. So instead of being out here with a pin out here that's swinging back and forth this way, instead we use a much smaller plate with an actually less complicated system in the terms of being able to get some adjustability out of it, and it just slides back and forth like this. And the way we accomplish that is with two small pins in this material here that ride in a groove. Now this gives us a lot of possibilities. With this particular one, I believe that is probably a 12-inch diameter there, so we can get a lot smaller than that simply by adjusting our bed out from the blade. So as we bring the bed out from the blade, our center point never changes, but our blade position does, so we can get a much tighter convex or concave shape. Now by putting a tray on the back side like this one, putting an adjustable tray on the back here and an adjustable plate, obviously this one isn't, just to cut this out as a test piece, we can now cut from both directions. We can put a fence here and a fence here, giving us the options of cutting convex or concave on the same system. So with a pretty simple setup, we were able to achieve a pretty cool look with this concave cut. Now to do the opposite of that, to make a convex cut, we simply put the fence on the other side of the jig, so the box would go towards the inside of the fence like this, and then we do the same process. Before we get too far into today's video, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, FilterBy. It's spring, that means a lot of pollen. It's getting warmer, so that means more mold spores. So definitely check out these charcoal filters from FilterBy. They have over 600 variations of filters, so I'm sure you can find something that you need. If not, they make custom ones. And by using the link in the description box and setting up a subscription service, you can save 5% on your filters. Let's get back to some woodworking. So with that simple setup, we got ourselves a concave shape and a convex shape. And if you were to, say, stack these over a pillar, you might end up with some fun details or make some interesting boxes. So that's just one very simple kind of fun thing you can do with this system. I'm going to switch to this plate right here, which has a larger diameter. And we're just going to throw a piece of plywood on here as a plate, and I'll show you something cool you can do with this. So that was a lot of fun, and I just eyeballed this. There's two things to keep in mind. As long as your fence is at an angle that is divisible by 360 degrees from the flat side of the bed here, so from this side, it'll end up getting a perfect segmented round. So if I had, let's say I wanted 10 segments, I would divide 360 by 10, so I get 36 degrees. 10 segmented round, and so on and so forth. Now, as long as you have that fence at the right angle to the back of the plate, not the front, and as long as you have a positive stop position. In other words, you want to be able to push that piece on there and stop it in the same place every time, so you get the same size pieces every time. You'll end up with a pretty gorgeous segmented round, and that's kind of a fun way to do some things, especially with turning. So instead of having the straight lines, you end up with a curved kind of shape to it. So that's kind of cool. Plus, it offers a lot of options for other projects in and around the shop. What makes this whole thing work are these two pins. These two pins keep the piece of the material relatively parallel to the blade during the cut operation. So we can do a curve. The other cool thing is we could also do like an S shape, as long as the S shape isn't too dramatic. So you can end up like cutting slats for a chair bottom or chair backs with just another simple jig. So to make these, I just used 3/8 bolts and cut them off and put a little slot in them so I could screw them in with a flathead screwdriver. In this case, I'm using a battery-powered handheld metal bandsaw, but an angle grinder with a metal cutting blade would work just as well. Cutting out the bolt has left some burrs, so I'm just going to use my disc sander. You could actually just use a piece of sandpaper on a hard surface in your drill. So I cut that quickly, and what I didn't do is cut it short enough. So I cut this next one, so it's just the right length. Now I want to leave it in my drill while I put it into the material. That helps me keep it at a nice 90-degree angle to the work surface. You can pre-tap the material if you want to. It's not necessary. And then I'll use a flathead to drive it in the rest of the way. Now this may cause some of that material around the bolt to buckle. If it is, just go ahead and cut that off. I've just used MDF for this particular setup. I am playing around with some other options as far as materials. Really my consideration is what's going to last the longest running against those two pins that I have in the base plate. I did make templates. There are going to be templates available for this, and I'll put a link in the description box below. But we're also going to make this commercially, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end of the video. So right now I've put in the longest template, or the longest plate that I have made for this. And for something like this I would use for, say, cutting out the back of a chair seat. In reality, I should have taken a little bit longer to set that up, trying to get the video done, so I just kind of blazed through it, but you get the idea. It's an easy way to repetitively cut backs of chair seats, curved staves for lots of different projects. I can think of about 20 uses just off the top of my head for this, but obviously we don't have time in this video to go through everything. You will be seeing this in upcoming videos, I promise. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this kind of new method to do some fun and crazy things with the bandsaw. I want to take a quick second and talk to you about something that's happening in the community that's pretty cool. It's called MakerBits. That's BITZ.com, where we get together with manufacturers and other makers, and we make stuff like this available to you. And we're calling it BIT, as in build it together, because we do the precision milling and manufacturing of it, and you do the final finish and assembly of the systems. So this is a community effort, and there's other makers that are doing this as well, so you'll be seeing this pop up throughout the community. And the nice thing about this is we get to do all this stuff right here in the US, and making stuff in the US is not cheap. But by using our precision machines to cut it out and you doing the finishing and the assembly work, we're able to drop all those costs, so we pass those savings on to you. So I invite you to check that out. Again, links in the description box below. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll be talking to you soon.